He's an experienced HR leader with double PG in Human Resource Management and Human Rights Law. She has hands-on experience in establishing and leading HR operations and talent management for large multinational organizations across banking, IT services, and software product companies. Let's have a huge round of applause.
Now we would like to request our moderator for the second panel discussion, Mr. Govind Singh Negi, to start the proceedings. So please.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Am I audible fine? I always love these conversations, especially when we have people who have stepped into the corporate world and people who are already been there, and especially with this diverse group. And I think the topic which we have today makes very sense for this group because of one reason, and don't take me otherwise. Because what I'm going to say after is that I think the IT industry, when I talk about it, is the best in HR practices. So I've been a part of various industries, and the IT industry, I feel, always think talent as a part of their business priorities. And that's where the HR as a strategic partner makes a lot of sense. And no doubt there are other industries which are trying to do the same stuff because everybody understands how valuable talent is if you want to grow your organization. And I think the group before that has talked about engagement, and I think it's a part of the whole HR stuff which we try to tackle. So with that said, as I think four of us are from IT, and Lalit can give us a different perspective altogether. One thing which I always curious to know, and I always keep asking people who are from diverse industry, is that do you feel that HR is actually playing the role of the strategic partner? And I think I'm sure all of us has kind of experienced more than 10 years, just to make sure that we look young. I'm sure we're gonna have more experience than that. So with that said, I think there is a HR which has evolved. I think I've seen HR. I have never seen HR doing the paperwork, very frankly, but I've seen HR doing at least the work which are more like HR operations, what we see today. And I think from there we have seen era where employee engagement, which the group was talking, was seen as fun activities and happy birthdays and all this stuff. Wherein now the things have evolved that we don't see it as like HR like engagement activities, and we wanted to go more with career progression stuff and succession planning and L&D and onboarding and all that stuff. So I think I'm curious to know that because every industry has evolved differently. So IT might have evolved faster, that's my opinion. IT might have evolved faster in terms of HR being a strategic partner, but I'm not sure about other industries. So maybe I would like to just quickly open, and this is an open question for all of you, and I would like to hear your perspective. Maybe you have a different perspective than what we are saying, that in terms of your own industry, like for three of you, IT, and for you, manufacturing, do you really see that HR is playing that strategic role, or trying to play that strategic role? So maybe any of you. Yeah, let's do it. Otherwise, Lalit will fill the front. I can do it more than. All right.
So, as Govind said, the IT industry somehow, the HR has reached to really a very high level. It may be true, but from my perspective, I see, irrespective of the industry, it all depends upon the person who holds the role. So, if I talk about automotive industry, in automotive industry, we employ large number of workforce which are blue collar, maybe 70 to 80% are blue collar, they work on machines. And they are protected by law, labor law and other laws as well. And approximately 30% people we have white collar. And if we talk about from the value proposition side, these 30% people, they create almost 80 to 90% value. And in these 30% people, we have the people from R&D. They work globally in all different geographies. People from purchasing, sales, HR, And these 70% people, they work mainly in the plant, in the location. So if I talk about how the HR has evolved, maybe in 15 years ago, if I talk HR in the automotive sector, it was more like HR operation, as you said. HR operation means they will come, they do the payroll, they do travel ticket booking, they do taxi and other these kind of stuff. And there was one expectation that time from the HR managers. It was like they need to be IR expert. So anytime any trouble occurs in the plant, these are the people, they should go in the shop floor and they should resolve the problem quickly. These people were supposed to have influence, in the ministries or in the government labor office and all, so that whenever any trouble occurs, they can reach to these people, and with the help, they can resolve the issue quickly. Over the years, if I see in last 5 to 7 years, it has changed now. These unions and all, they have also realized that collaboration is the only way which creates a win-win solution for management as well as these labor unions. And they want to build collaboration with the management team for the organizational performance and the success. So here now the expectation from the HR has changed now. HR needs to be proactive. HR needs to be strategic. And so HR needs to be proactive, for example, to manage these 70% people. How do we manage these 70% people? We say we need to be proactive. We need to ensure right HR process so that these problems does not occur. Either it's a communication in morning itself, it was told communication is key. So I have seen some of the concepts like we have 6+2 communication concept. So where there will be 2 town hall meetings. It will be the top-down communication approach and the bottom-up communication approach. So we say small group meetings. So it is kind of the minimum mandatory each managers and the leaders are supposed to do 6+2 communication. Then the recruiting process has to be so robust that we don't get the people with the with the wrong mindset who can come in the plant once and they can create any IR issues in the future. So recruiting is very important. Performance management system, how fair we are, it is very, very important, and other stuff as well. So it is very strategic as of now, even in managing the workforce, which are not highly qualified.
So that means that you feel that it's not only IT where the HR is becoming strategic and contributing to business, but it's also manufacturing where this is happening. So I'm curious to know, do you see that's the role of an HR in a manufacturing firm has reached to that stage where they're actually playing the role, or do you see there is a way to go?
So let us talk about the trend right now in automotive industry, manufacturing industry. When we talk about the trend in automotive industry, maybe in 5, 10, 20 years, we see the change. What will be the change? Change would be we'll have automatic driving. There will be no driverless car. You just sit, relax, and you reach to your destination. There will be a lot of the big data in the car. There will be electric vehicles. There will be Industry 4.0. So when these changes are likely to happen, maybe in next 10, 20 years, globally in other countries already it has started, electric vehicles and other things. But in India, maybe it may take some more time, maybe 10, 15 years, these things will come. So who will be, means at the end, these are the people are going to transform the organization. And then the HR comes in the center, who will enable the organization, to, work on these mega trends and ensure the survival in the future. The organizations which will not work on these trends, which will not take measures, they will not survive, they will not exist maybe in 10, 15, 20 years. So it's HR again. HR has to be a strategy even in automotive sector.
Awesome. So I think that's same question for Rajiv.
So I think I find the question to be very relative. In a sense, it cannot be industry agnostic. It depends on the organization maturity to start with, and then it depends on the leadership maturity of the HR. So for example, the maturity of even IT organizations I've seen, because I've worked throughout in IT companies and have served 5 different multinational IT companies in Korea. The maturity of each company will drive the fact that the HR is actually given that strategic importance in the critical decision making. Now, I've seen founders, CEOs, and also the leadership not involving HR, and I've seen otherwise also. Now, for a moment, let's assume that they are giving proper respect and space to the HR organization to operate. Now, it is a leadership maturity which will make a difference. And in that context, as an HR leader, what is the most important thing for any HR leader is to look at is what is the strategic competitive advantage of the company businesses. So whether it's a differentiator strategy or is it a cost-based strategy. In IT industry particularly, the differentiator strategy would be the product or solution or the niche space the company has created. Now, if that is the context of the organization, your HR strategy will be completely different. So for example, if you are in knowledge industry like IT, your focus would be to acquire the right talent because you are dealing with the product, you're dealing with the solutions. You need to have high-end talent in your organization. You cannot actually just go and pick the run-of-the-mill average talent from the industry. The second, you also need to create the ecosystem in the organization which is actually working in ensuring there's an innovative, creative culture in the organization. If you don't make that happen, you will actually have a struggle as compared to competition. Now, on the other hand, if you have cost efficiency based strategy, it means that the entire business runs on the efficiency, on the average cost. So you need to, as a HR leader, make sure that your strategy is around managing the cost better, managing the efficiency better, which means all your people practices are converted in a way or introduced in a way that it manages cost element effectively for the organization to manage. However, what cut across all these 3 things or these 2, it could be a blended thing also, blend of differentiate as well as cost. What is cut across these 3 elements is the important aspect of any HR leader is who are the key stakeholders of the business or the company. The company exists to generate the wealth. We are not in a non-profit scenario that we need to just invest the money into something and don't expect any ROI. The shareholders would actually kick the leadership out in case of the profit is not generating, revenue is not there. The key stakeholders for any organization, irrespective of industry, are number 1, shareholder, number 2, the customers, number 3, people, and maybe in few cases, the society. Now, when I look at it from the industry I come from, which is IT, actually the most critical one is people, because people drive the company. It's a talent, it's a knowledge industry, it's the people who are actually enabling, whether it's a product-based company or a services-based company, the differentiator is enabled by them. Usually the mistake which HR normally makes is, they look at shareholder to be the most important stakeholder. I want to flip the sequence. If we are able to actually keep the people or the talent as number 1 priority and number 2 as customer, if these 2 are taken care well, the shareholder will be taken care well automatically. Because that's where the difference comes from. And there, the HR actually wears 3 hats. Number 1 hat is of the service provider. So you need to make sure that we live in the experience economy. Today, all of us have handsets, mobile. What is that for which we are willing to pay extra money to purchase an iOS mobile? It's the experience. Why would you go to a particular restaurant where you are actually paying little extra? It's the experience. Same thing from an employee perspective. As HR organization, are we creating experience in their life cycle, starting from the first touch point as a prospective employee, as a candidate, when we are calling that person, what experience are we creating? When this candidate comes to our office, how does he feel or how does she feel? That's the experience. And when the person is inside the organization, the services element of HR must need to have experience element in it. If it is not there, you don't have any differentiator. You'll have a problem. So experience is from a services perspective is important. The second important hat which HR leader would wear or HR professionals would wear is a hat of enabler. Are you enabling your business? Are you there when the business needs you to support them? Are you aligning your strategic priorities as per the business priorities of the organization? Are you doing the right mediation to resolve the conflicts on the floor? Are you actually helping managers to manage their difficult situations? Are you also enabling the career growth of the people? These are the enablement or enablers of HR from a head perspective. And the third hat is of custodian. The most important thing for any organization is, are we creating a culture of consistency? If you are not consistent irrespective of the levels in the organization, we will have a problem in the company. People will have no trust in the ecosystem. People will have no trust in the leadership as well as in the organization. Trust and openness are the key. The transparency, if you are able to create on the consistent approaches which we define, be it related to policies and the treatment of those policies, ensuring that what behaviors are appreciated, what behaviors are not appreciated, articulating them better, communicating them better, and at the same time holding the core values strongly, irrespective of labels. I think these are the aspects which make the HR organization strategic as a whole. There are tenets in terms of process, etc. I'm not getting there right now, but that's the.
So you feel it's less industry, but more the organization, the leadership of the organization, which gives a scope to the HR to play the strategy.
Primarily, it comes from how the owners or in IT you will have three segments of companies. One would be promoter-led company, other would be venture capitalist-led company, third would be public company. And when I say venture-led, it could be private equity firm also. In these three ecosystems, if you go back to promoter-led companies or the founders-led company, the culture may be very different. It may be more empowering in few cases, it may be controlled environment in other cases. Whereas in a venture capitalist and private equity firm environment, the business proposition would be very different, and so would be the case in the public listed companies. Now, within that ecosystem, you need to understand what the organization mandate is, how the culture of the organization is going to be flourishing, and as a HR leader, how will your priorities be aligned to that? So it will be very contextual to the organization. It cannot be consistent everywhere same.
Thank you. Prakash, what do you think about that?
Hi everybody. If the question is like HR as a strategic partner, when people are asked what is the role of HR, we used to just say talent management and recruitment and rewards and recognitions. But if you will see over the years and the papers around HR, you will see most of the papers coming as HR as strategic partner and all. The thing is, every organization, I'm not specifically talking about IT, maybe any organization wants to grow and they want to grow fast. Now when they want to grow fast, they want to turn every stone which makes them to grow fast. Now what is that one stone? Obviously the main thing in the organization is not its infra in terms of the tables, chairs or something. It is something like humans, which is the greatest, which is a crucial concept to the organization. Now, when we are talking about the humans, HR is playing a very important role. We are not just talking about rewards, recognitions in, talent, recruitment, rewards, and all that stuff. That is a basic thing which HR used to do. What nowadays people are talking about is HR has to, the CEOs, the CXOs, they have to involve them. If they have to grow fast, they have to involve these people in the strategic decision making. So, in fact, many companies do that, and if you will see high performing companies, they will not take any decision without HR getting involved in that. My answer to this question might be more of L&D perspective, learning and development, because my whole career has been in learning and development. The companies which I have been in, I would say I would not have worked there for much longer if there would not have been a learning and development plan for me, a growth plan for me. And at the same time, a person gets lost, he joins the company is very good, but still he is not satisfied. Now what is the problem? The problem is learning and development. I don't have a path. I know sometimes I'm confused what I have to do. So what do you do there? Organization takes care, and when I'm saying organization takes care, the HR takes care. HR builds up the learning pathway for you. They build up, the companies have started doing, you are having all the knowledge based on your, you can surf through the net and all. Companies have started doing it. They are saying, if you are in this role, I'm a programmer, but I don't want to do programming. I got a job by whatever means, I was selected as a programmer. Not much of interest. I want to go in the quality thing. So there's a role change also. You are going to change the role. You can go in the quality side, take the trainings, work on some POCs, proof of concepts, and get the thing done. So that is the way. It's not like gone are those days where you were told you are appointed as a programmer and for the entire 10, 20, 30 years you are working as a programmer. Now industry doesn't allow like that. So coming back to, I'm again shifting to L&D, but coming back to the HR, now what I'm trying to say here is HR has to be proactive, not reactive. I have to hire employees, go and hire the employees. That is a reactive move. Nowadays, HR is playing such a crucial role that they are saying, let's not hire, see the capacity of the people who are inside the organizations and try to upskill them. And not only this, they also are closely connected with the business units. I hope everybody, so you have yet to go into the corporates. The corporate structure is like that. There are different business units. So one business unit maybe have more dealing with, say, we are having one client A, the another unit will be with B. Eitherwise, these units will be client-driven, means A, B, C they might have done, or they are, Unit A is working on cloud technologies, Unit B is working on AI and machine learning and something like that. So this way, organizations have, are divided into units. Now, when they are divided into units, HR can't work at a corporate level. So it means that HR has to go and get connected with these business units. What is this AI and ML? What is this cloud? I'm not understanding. So if I'm an HR person, I don't know what is cloud, what type of people are required there, what type of struggle is there, what type of terms and terminologies they are using, what is the buzzword over there. So nowadays, actually HR is working in a decentralized form. Keeping corporate HR there, most of the organizations you will see, there is a decentralized HR. You know what does that mean? Decentralized HR is understand the business, work close with the business units, understand what they are into, which type of business they are into, and then plan for their learning path so that they will become future ready. So it is a kind of employee engagement also. So where you will see there is a growth. We can grow. Our knowledge is also increasing. We are not stagnant, monotonous on the same thing, doing same kind of work every day. After every 2 years, 6 months down the line, I have something new to learn. So you become happy enough. So that's all. My thing is, in nutshell, if I will concise, I will say HR has to be in a proactive mode. The basic things are gone. That is the part of their job. They have to do something extra, something innovative, where they can reduce the cost of the company. Because if the persons are leaving the organizations, we are again hitting the cost. So growing the talent inside, keeping the employee engaged, working and making them future ready is the key things which I want to tell you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think you touched upon a very important point. I think most of HR professionals struggle with that, and I think if HR can do this, can actually play a strategic role. I think before you play a strategic role, you should know the business you are in. And I think most of us are happy, and I'm not talking about all of us, but most of us, meaning the most of the HR professionals, they're happy, just learning performance management as a system, career progression as a system, but they don't know what business we are doing unless you know your business. And I think specifically from L&D perspective, if you don't know what kind of business we are into, I'm not sure whether we will be able to help them to upskill or reskill themselves. So I think that's a very, very important thing. Yeah, Ashna, what do you think?
So, first of all, a very good afternoon to all of you.
It's always nice to see the young minds here and listening to us. It's really nice. If I have to talk about HR as a strategic partner, I think I have a question for all of you. And the question is,
That's my job.
Yeah. Okay. But the question is, do we actually have the seat at the table? So what has happened over the years, that HR, and you spoke about IT, and I kind of relate to that because my entire experience had been in IT. And I also heard about a lot of disruptive technology that Lalit touched upon. And I also understand what Mr. Nathani said. He said that I think it all about the organization, and then Parkha spoke about the L&D. So my question is, yes, we had been there had been a discussion earlier, we kind of understand the background that we come from, the great legacy that the HR has. But the question is, are we ready to adapt ourselves to the new technology? Do we actually going and asking a very relevant question to the business that what do you need? What are your expectations from us? For example, I'll give you a story. There is one HR guy, he was asked to come over to one of the discussions that the marketing guys are having. So the marketing guys were sitting along with the HR guy, and they were genuinely discussing about their businesses, and they said, we have a huge pipeline of sales. We know that we have to enter into the business in this, in this domain. We understand that this is a new market that is coming up that we have to tap. And then he kept thinking, what is it that I need to add? And he had nothing to add. So then that was over. So he was called on for a next meeting. That was with the finance guys. Now the finance guys are all talking about ROIs, the basic finance terms. And then this guy again was zapped, and he kept looking at their faces and thinking, what am I supposed to add here? And the third meeting that happened, he was not even called. So the question here is, what is it that we are doing? How much is it that we are adapting ourselves to the changes that is happening? And as all of you correctly mentioned and touched upon, is the fact that how much are we engaging with our people? There was a beautiful panel discussion that happened earlier, and everyone was talking about engagements. And I must say that, I was listening to that. The funny part about engagement is that we are all part of it. But if you take a survey, there was a survey that was done by Glassdoor, and they realized that the engagement scores of employees have only increased by 2 to 3% from 2008, which was the worst economic times that we have seen. So I think we as HR are definitely not doing a lot of things. I am, not that positive about it as of now. Not doing a lot of things right currently that we need to. And I think today is the time that we wake up, we shake ourselves up, and we realize that there is a lot that we need to give to the business back, so that they understand that there is a value that we are providing. Today, how many HR actually go to the business and say, what are your expectations from me? Or how many times when we are going to our offices today, after those many years of experience, what are the challenges that I am facing, and how is it that I have to take them head on? We are actually not doing that. I think this is the time we start thinking strategic and start, changing the way the perspective had been. Like, Mr. Nathani said beautifully that from a capex model, we are moving to an opex way of thinking. And Burkha said that from a reactive to a proactive. I'll add one more point. I'll say that from a predictive to an adaptive thing is what we need to move.
Yeah, so I think I love the way you challenge all of us, right? I was like, come on, we have a seat at the table. But I think I'd like to touch upon that question first. And I think, so I've been interacting, unfortunately, mostly with the IT professionals and HR also from the IT industry. And one thing I liked and found is that they really have a seat at the table. So the CHROs and the head of the HR, they really don't talk about HR much. They talk about the business and how it's connected, what they're going to do. Like when you hear the strategies and you say, hey, what's the end result? You'll always find the end result is some business impact which has to be created. So I see that's happening. I'm sure there's a long way to go, and I think thanks to all this conversation and the way you challenge are happening, where HR professionals keep thinking, say, hey, I think I might be the right thing or not. One of my favorite questions, which I never told you that last year, is going to be, and let me ask this question to Rajiv. I have always struggled, and I've seen that not much of the CEOs are from HR domain. You will see mostly from sales, uh, some from operations, and some from finance. Yeah, finance is interesting. You never see much HR being CEOs. And I think too, again, it is related to the question she asked: do we have a seat at the table? Do we have a seat at the table? I'm taking to the next thing. So I'm saying, do you lead that people sitting around the table? So why do you think it's so? Why are we not capable as a HR professional to be a CEOs?
Very beautiful question.
Let me challenge you more.
You know, I'm feeling challenged from two corners.
I got actually motivated by her
Right.
asking little difficult questions.
Right. So, you know, it is factful. It's factful that HR people have not made progress to reach the CEO positions, and there's a reason to it. One most important reason is the understanding of the business and the efforts towards making that happen. That's a number one problem statement. HR has always looked at HR function from operations, process, and little bit of people perspective. In the current context, if HR is not gearing up and changing the gear of the ride to make it TTP based, it wants to move forward. So TTP means talent, technology, and process. That's the only way through which it will actually move ahead in the curve and has strategic orientation. Now, let me actually put a visualization around how HR can actually move ahead in the journey and create a path towards reaching that. I've seen, on the other hand, contrary views that people in HR organization have moved and become the chief operating officers. You know, in fact, in your case, you have been given the additional responsibilities to manage a center in India, for example. That's part of that thing. I know somebody, when I was in Pune working with Dassault Systems, I had a colleague, not colleague, but professional associate working with BMC software. He was originally an HR guy, but he is the COO for the Asia Pacific of BMC. There are many such examples I've seen in my career. However, there's a journey to reach to CEO, but that's a first step. Positive movements which are happening. We know Ram Charan, for example, great guy, who is a great leader. So examples are there, very few, but the challenge is, other than the business, the other element is the investors, whosoever the investors be, for them when they review two things first. Even in a bad time or good time, these remain consistent. Number one, the top line, and second is bottom line. And because that drives the shareholder values, and in both the things, either sales organization is playing role or finance organization playing role. And that's where these people have that visibility and they become prominent and visible to the board of directors or even the investors. I think the more HR gets space in those kind of forums and they're able to actually create a space which is very encouraging, inspiring, and contributing, possibly the trend may change. Now let me put a visualization to thing which I was trying to talk about. Let's assume there's a company called ABC in a software space. This company had a revenue of, make a mid-sized company of $100 million. And they have been growing 10% year on year for the last 3 years. And we know that in India, IT industry has been growing 10 to 12% year on year for the last 3 years. Now, there's a change at investor level. Now, the new investor is calling CEO and telling the CEO that we want you to take the revenue from 100 million to 140 million by end of the year, which means 40% growth. In an organic space, they have been growing only 10% year on year, which has been the case for the last 3 years. So is the case with the market. Market has not grown on an average 12% plus. Now the CEO puts a plan, says that okay, we will grow 20% in organic, 20% organic. The CEO has that's a plan closed with the board of directors, because there you won't get, these are the high level actions and commitment you need to give. Now he calls for a meeting with the executives. Now this is CHRO sitting in that room, and he tells everybody, this is the plan we have. I want your strategic priorities around it. If CHRO feels that it's a responsibility of sales organization to make it happen, the corporate development team in terms of acquisition, etc., and finance department to manage the cost because there's a bottom line commitment also to it, then they will not do anything. But in this context of organization, the important steps which the CHRO must need to take would include number one, understanding the capacity to manage this organic growth. So far, for 3 years, the HR organization was creating capacity at the rate of 10%. Now, organic growth would be 20%. So, what are the different things from a talent perspective? Remember, it's an IT organization, the simulation and hypothecation perspective we're talking about. The capacity has to be created. You will have a churn. How do you actually make sure that you minimize the churn? How do you make sure that the capacity is not only acquiring talent from outside, but as Prabha was talking about in terms of building the capacity in-house, in terms of reskilling, upskilling. At the same time, when the acquisition happens from an inorganic perspective, how would you integrate seamlessly that entire entity into this? Now, if the thinking of HR leader is into this space, which is linked directly with the business outcomes of the business, which has been committed to the board of directors by CEO, then only gradually HR will have a better say and possible growth to get into the leadership roles.
Yeah, I think it's well said. One thing which I think when you were talking about that sense, what is that thing? I think you described multiple ways by which HR professionals can really go towards the post of the CEO. I really don't know whether they want to do that. Like HR really want to be a CEO or not? Are they happy with their own space? But that's my thinking. Yeah. But I think if you have to say like two things which, if somebody is aspired to be a CEO, what that person should do, what two things that CHRO should do to be a CEO?
So, the baseline assumption is the person has aspiration, a person has the capabilities. That's a baseline assumption. Now, beyond that, number one important thing is that the person must need to collaborate with all the business leaders to really understand what's happening. Without that learning experience of understand the business and nuances related to different verticals, you will not get prepared to reach there. That's one. Second is willing to chart into different roles without even having an emotional attachment to HR that okay, I'll not let go this role, but give me additional responsibilities. It won't help. You need to be willing to chart into the same way as other leaders have gone into. See, I've seen when I was with HCL, we had people rotated from different verticals to different verticals. There was a time when I had HR head who came from different role. He was customer service head, he was finance head when he joined, he rotated to different roles and eventually became HR head. So generally HR people are very emotional because why they are emotional about the role, there's a lot of power which resides in HR function.
Yeah, I think
that's
one,
the attraction.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I said. I don't know whether HR professionals really want to do this. They're happy what they are. I want to be a CHRO, but I don't want to be a CEO. Or maybe that's kind of thing. I think you said fine. Maybe that's the position to love it because it has a little bit of authority and certain things which we can influence the organization. One thing which I want to ask you, Ashok, because you asked that question to us, so I just don't want
I'm in the spot now.
Just don't want to leave. And I think the previous panel were talking about empowerment. There was a question raised by somebody from the panel, and they were talking about empowerment. I had a different experience from empowerment perspective. So in one of the surveys, that survey was only for managers, and we asked the question that what is that one thing you think that you need from the organization to enable you to do your job? They said empower us, and like we see it as like empower us. Like we are not empowering our people, I think, especially the managers, and these are very key people. These are the people who runs the show. So we thought that I think we're gonna do everything possible to make sure that our people are empowered, especially the managers, and we will look at all the things which we do, the initiative, the processes, everything we looked at to make sure that our managers are empowered. And what we realized is that they want empowerment, but they really don't want to take ownership of that. So what I mean by this is that So there are occasions, and we say, hey, I think I'll take you a very small example where we said the manager should communicate the salary increase to their people, and they were like, we took everything from below their foot because they felt that we don't want to do it, right? And in the past, there are always conversations like managers say, hey, I recommended a very good hike for you, but that's because of my boss or because of the HR, I'm not able to give you. Now you have to, if you're empowered to take a decision that what salary increase that person will get, I'm assuming that you will take ownership of your decision and you will be able to communicate. So what we were struggling with, and I think that's connected with L&D also, so I won't leave you on this question too. I felt that there was a need of people saying that we need empowerment, but when we gave the empowerment, we felt that so how do you see it? Because that's how I'm connecting it to the strategy is that these are a very strategic move. Empowering your people is a strategic move, but are they ready to be empowered, or they're just saying it? So if you would have been in my situation, what you would have done?
So to your question, and thank you so much for putting me on the spot. For me, I think empowerment is a top-down approach, and to the earlier panel discussion that I kind of something that kind of enticed me a lot was the fact when someone said, when Captain, I forgot his name, Bhapi, yeah, he said, sorry. So he said that the fact is that we have to create the next rung of leaders. So for me, I think empowerment is all about giving back to people. And I give you an example, typically from an IT industry perspective. So what happens in an IT industry, it's a very new industry, compared to with any other manufacturing or automobile or any other industry that we talk about. It's a very new industry. You have new guys, for example, the company I work with, I deal with millennials. I have the average age of employees in my organization is just 29. So the fact is, to the fact that how are we going to empower is also about how the leaders are looking at their second rung and empowering them in terms of the way they want to groom them. I think what has not happened in the past is everyone wants to keep that authority to themselves. They don't want to get to a level when the second rung of people are doing the compensation or benefit analysis for junior guys. Why? Because at the end of the day, they want to get a knock at their door, so that they can decide what the comp and ben is, and then they will become empowered, because the second rung of people or the second line of managers, the first line of managers are only managers who are there to do the dirty job of giving them the feedback on performance appraisals, but they have no authority. So I think to the fact that how we can empower people is about how big our hearts is. How much are we ready to give away to people? Are we ready to give away, and to Mr. Nathani's point, are we ready to give away to people? Do we have that maturity that we are not insecure of the fact that if this authority is passed on to someone else, it's not about that my job will be gone. It's all about that. The day we realize that we are not insecure, the day we realize that by giving authority, you actually make yourself more powerful, I think that is the time when true empowerment will start happening.
Awesome. And I think I see an angle of learning and development. I just really want to know from you is that if this is the situation, like the decision I described, and from the learning and development, do you see a connect of L&D to solve that problem, where people were wanting empowerment, but once it was given, they are really not ready for it?
Yeah. So wanting empowerment and holding that challenge is a bigger thing. From L&D perspective, what would I like to say is, when a manager has a team, he has to groom the people, not only technically, but also behaviorally. And I'm not saying this experience from anybody else I have seen. This is my own experience. When I joined, my background is from universities, academics. to the corporate, and it was a big change for me. And when I joined the corporates, I was not even thinking of like going to the next level. I was like completely, lost in the sense, because this was a big cultural change for me and big environmental change for me. So academics and organization is a big gap. Now, I'm thankful to my managers at that point of time. I'm thinking like they knew the potential I had. So they were trying to tell me, you go for this training and that training. And at that point of time, they didn't ask me to go for a technical training. Technical training anyways I will do, because that is my core area. If I have to be in this industry, I have to, update and upskill myself. Otherwise, I am gone out of the industry. But what they suggested to groom yourself in a professional way in a behavioral sectors, I attended a training that was a managerial effectiveness training. It was one of the trainings at that time, and you can't believe. I think the one training which happened for 1 month, which used to be not continuously 1 month, it was for around about 14 days overall with 2 hours. But that training was not only conceptual based, that was a practical scenario based training. And very simple facts we discussed. It's not about technology we discussed. The learning and development team told me to understand simple skills. I think that would be very interesting for you. One of the persons in that training told, in my last organization, I left because I was not promoted. And when I left, my manager asked me why you are leaving. And I said, I'm not seeing any growth here and I was not promoted. And you know what his manager told him? You never asked for that. So the point here is, you need to communicate, you need to convey. You may not have that potential, but some potentials are hidden in you. Like I'm from a testing background, we used to say test. So we can't test only the things, the errors which we could see from naked eyes. There are some hidden errors. There is a hidden potential in you, and that your manager can see, identify. Lot many people are in the teams who say, he has to grow communication-wise, he has to grow knowledge-wise, he has to grow behaviorally. When I'm saying behaviorally, means keeping calm. And see, if you are empowered and you are giving 10 people to work within you, you should have those skills. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like in a team, we have to understand everybody. You can't say, I don't like this person, and you will say, I'm not going to work. You don't have any choice here. At home, you might be doing that. You have a fight with your brother, and you will not talk for 2 days. But when you are in the organization, you can't do like that. So the point here is, yes, that's a good thing. Communicate it to the leaders, communicate it to the managers. Why don't you ask for it? Some people have potential. They ask for themselves, I want to be here. So manager keeps that thing in mind. Or to the leaders, you are saying, I want to do this thing. Please communicate and convey. Because sometimes I have seen, even 50 to 60% times I have seen, people keeping it to themselves and their manager is not understanding them well. Another thing is, the person is being watched in an organization in 2 ways. One is, your manager is knowing you through the performance, through this and that, through your KRAs. There is another type of, a watch, a management or a manager, a good manager should keep on you. He watches very simple things in you. The dedication, the term we were talking in the last discussion, the passion. That passion is something which he notices in you is in a very silent mode. You will not be aware of that. He's noticing this thing in me. So that's all up to you, like how you are communicating, how you are showing your potential, and how you are discussing. You want some pathway, you want something, you want to grow in this field, but you are not feeling capable of, to grow in that. You can grow. We all have learned ABC. Nobody was prepared, everything trained in this earth. So everybody has got training, development, and the point here is, let me one size. The point here is, what do you want to become? Choose the target. And there will be many things which you have to do to achieve that target, to achieve that goal. And communicate around and see what steps you have to take to grow and reach to that stage.
I want to add something to Barkha's information. And to your point earlier that whether they are prepared to take it, whether they are taking the ownership to take it to the next level of actually doing the dirty job or not, So the thing is that as organizations, and we're all part of organizations which have a strategic plan to do succession planning. And when you start up with a career and when the new guys come on board and you realize with a certain time once they perform, typically like an 18 months that you spend in the organization, you design and define whether they want to take the management part of it or the technical part of it. And then accordingly you assign them responsibilities, duties, give them give them that, and then you empower them and take them to the next level. But again, the question is, the person who's sitting at the top, do he really want to do it or not?
I think that's the key. Yeah, sure. And just to question to be quick,
in regard to empowerment, it is a responsibility of leaders, I think. So leadership development is the key.
Yeah.
So the leaders who are insecure means he is incompetent. He is not matured enough. So to improve the maturity in our leaders, it is very important to grow them, to give them exposure, to give them tools, to give them as much as learning. So once they are competent enough, they believe in themselves, they hold the position because they are competent enough, and they are growing faster than other people in the team. This is the first job of a leader. He has to grow faster than his team. Only then he can pull his team together with him. This is second. First. Second, individual. Every individual can't hold power. It is also a leadership task who can hold how much power and can be held accountable for the empowerment. Someone is really empowered to make decision of 500 million euro. Is he really competent enough? Because the leadership job is also at the stake. So he needs to understand all these, the competency of his team as well, and the individual has to show the performance to the leader. Yes, I'm capable enough. Give me the empowerment.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Although I will continue talking to you guys, I'm loving, enjoying having these conversations, but to value everybody's time. Yeah, I thought that I can't enjoy it, everybody's enjoying. But I can ask, are you guys enjoying the conversation? Yeah. Don't tell me this. Be honest. Anyway, so just to value everybody's time, I would like to close this conversation here. You guys feel free, you can guess them after this conversation. If you have more specific questions, I'll give you time to ask questions. But just to sum up, because I think they are very, very key. I think it's not for the guys sitting here. I think they are very key learnings for me, and I would like to reiterate them. And I love the one word which has been said many times. So I'll talk about that too. So I think one thing which I learned, and I think for everybody else, is that HR playing the strategy role is not specifically about the industry. Maybe because our industry works in a particular way, could be an inclination towards that. But I think what I hear is that it's more about the organization itself and the leadership of that organization, how they want HR to play that role. And I think one was that putting people first and the stakeholders. Second was a key for me, because if you are taking care of your people, the stakeholders will be taken care of. HR has to be proactive and not reactive. I think I knew this, everybody know that we always forget about it. I think we need to remind ourselves again and again about it. That's the key. HR should have the business first before being HR, and that's the key. I think we heard from both the ladies sitting here. Leaders develop leaders, both of you said. I think one word which I heard multiple times, and I think Stanley from the previous panel has said, is word passion. I think that's a very strong word, whether it's about you as an individual, as a student, whatever profession you are, makes strong sense. So, do we have time to give people a question?
Yes, we can entertain 3 questions.
All right, so 3 only.
So I would like to ask one.
3 plus 1? 3 plus 1?
Possibly.
Okay.
So,
and I would request everybody, if you're asking a question, please tell to whom the question is directed. That makes it easy and saves a little.
okay. So this question is directed to you only, sir. So since you are the moderator, and it was a lovely discussion regarding workplaces and all. So as we all know that today the workplaces are moving to more dynamic systems, open work cultures and all. So don't you think it's prerogative that the role of a HR as a strategic partner is the creation of future CEOs inside the company?
Yeah, and I think my question was that my question when I was asking was HR himself, and I think there's no doubt that HR is when playing the role of strategic partner has to make sure that the company has next level ready. Whether it is you're talking about an assistant manager or a manager or a senior manager, to the level of CEO. And of course, there are different level of HR professionals getting involved. What I'm trying to say is that if we are looking for making somebody or developing somebody a CEO of the organization, I'm sure the CHRO and the head of HR will be involved. But I think it has to happen at every single level. And I think that's the combined role of HR, BP, and L&D to make sure that we have leaders ready for every level. And I think that's the key contribution which HR can make in the business, from the business impact perspective, if you have people ready for the next level. And that also impacts the employee engagement, because people feel that you value them and you invest in their growth, and they stay with you for long.
Thank you, sir. More questions from the audience, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nikita Singh from MBA first year. So, being a fresher, I would like to ask Parkha ma'am that what, according to you, are the most crucial factors that constitute a company's culture?
Yeah. Nikita, you said your name. Yeah. Most crucial factors
That constitute the company's culture.
Yeah. So, if I'm saying crucial factors that constitutes a company culture is if I'm saying from HR's L&D perspective, it's more of connect within the organization, communication. There should not be a huge gap between the middle level or the lower level or the freshers and the higher level. Now, if I see within the organizations, there used to be in past there used to be a hierarchy kind of thing. I will talk to my manager and he will talk to the other level. So that is I should say that bridge, that wall is broken now. There is nothing like that. The companies are working on this. They want a free, transparent communication, because if you are just communicators and mediators, the moment information reaches from top to bottom, it loses its meaning. So it's a direct communication which is very important. Another crucial factor which I see is for the freshers. They, when we enter in the organization, if I'm saying from IT perspective, people say, I want to just do development, and they stick to that. I want to do dev. What do you want to become? I want to become a developer. But please, as I said, everybody is having right now knowledge in their pocket. Please surf around and see how much of the development jobs are there. So the point is, once there is a beginning of your career, you have to firstly know your organization in terms of customers, know your organization within the organization and outside the organization. Then know its competitors. So once you are aware where you are right now, then the most important thing is, what is my pathway, where I have to reach, and start working on that from the day one. It's not like 1 year you will say, okay, I will spend. So usually people came with this mindset, I will be here for 2 months, and some people say, "Mera bond 2 years ka hai, I will sit there." I don't think, and some people I have really seen, they don't work with this attitude. They work with what is the company's culture saying. Not only this, they also share their ideas. How can you change the processes? In the company, means in the company which I work, there is an open platform. You can freely put your, freely put your views. And when you put your views freely, for example, you have a concept of automating a process. Suppose you are in HR, you say, why can't we automate this process like this? You are most welcomed. So you have to keep, but for that you have to keep your eyes open. You have to keep on hearing about your organization. What is your CEO saying? Most of the people don't know what is our vision of the company. What are they going to become in say 2020 or something? So be alert, be active within the organization. See on what things they are trying to work on. What are their new customers? What they want to become. So that all plays a very crucial role for a fresher. But I would say here, 50 to 60% of the people, they just come in the organization, especially freshers, and they don't know where they have to be, what they want to become, and it's a human psychology. We all start grubbing off, ye nahi hai, yahan pe wo nahi hai, wahan pe. Then we connect with other classmate who is in the other organization, what is there and what is not. It is good to do that, but don't miss your goal in this thing. I have said many things, but yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So I'll just add a bit to it, and you please be seated. See, from freshers' perspective, when you enter into any organization, most of the things you've heard that what is important. One of the important things is observe the behaviors which are practiced in the company. Every company is very different. Some companies would be very open. You will see that there's no hierarchy, it's a flat organization, the communication is very pleasant, you can approach anybody without any fear or hesitation. Some companies may have a little bit of hierarchical context, and some companies will be very command oriented. So make sure that whatever the behaviors which are practiced in that organization are understood by you. Look at what are the belief systems in terms of core values of those companies. Because remember, when you actually enter in any organization, the journey towards a goal will only be achieved collectively when all of us as an employer, all of you as an employer of that organization are moving in one direction. And what sets that direction? That's the behaviors which are defined as core values in that company. So never get out of that perspective, otherwise you'll have a challenge to survive in that company. And beyond that, make sure that you become a learning machine in the age of machine learning. That's the golden advice I'll give to any incumbent who's entering the career.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful line to end it, I guess. I think we are running short on time, so we'll end our Q&A over here.
So now we would like to extend a token of gratitude to our esteemed guest, Mr. Govind Singh Negi, Mr. Lalit Mishra, Ms. Parkha Kaul, Mr. Rajiv Nathani, Ms. Archana Bhardwaj.
On behalf of the entire BMU fraternity, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers present amongst us for taking time from their respective schedules to grace this occasion. We were all inspired by your great words. We would like to thank HRSUCCESSTALK for organizing such a prestigious event at our institute. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Vishal Talwar, Dean SOM, Dr. Jaskiran Arora, Assistant Dean SOM, Dr. Payal Kumar, Professor SOM, and Dr. Jaya Ahuja, Assistant Professor SOM, for their guidance and cooperation. Well, organizing an event like this cannot happen overnight. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by an enthusiastic organizing team and a wonderful corporate engagement team that have worked tirelessly in making this event a grand success. I thank everyone for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks. Our organizing committee consisted of Pranitrisha Japlod, Kritagya Jain, Mani Rawat, Rohil Singh, Param Arora, Utkarsh Gupta, Abhir Chatterjee, Tanya Tiwari, Shreya Verma, Akanksha Bajaj, Sachi Arora, and myself, Diptava Banerjee. Finally, I would also like to thank our seniors for their continuous help and encouragement, and obviously our audience for being so patient with us through the entire duration of this. I'd like to conclude by saying a few lines from the poem Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father. Let my country awake, let my country awake. Thus, it can be said that we must all strive to achieve greatness, being in the ethical and moral guidelines of society. I once again thank you all for gracing this occasion.